Today on Erix Reviews, we're taking a look at Jurassic World Dominion, the trilogy capper for the Jurassic World series and sixth installment in the Jurassic Park franchise. It's a globe-trotting adventure that brings back all the stars of both series to survive yet another perilous encounter with dinosaurs and the corrupt businesses that want to exploit these dinosaurs. The film stars Chris Pratt, Bryce Dallas Howard, Isabella Sermon, DeWanda Wise, and Campbell Scott, along with returning legacy players Laura Dern, Sam Neill, Jeff Goldblum, and B.D. Wong. The film was directed by Colin Trevorrow. Let's take a look.
We're racing toward the extinction of our species. We not only lack dominion over nature, we're subordinate to it.
Come back.
I always come back. Don't move. Bigger. Why do they always have to go bigger?
Often, with these legacy sequel events, we see filmmakers adamantly proclaim how they did it for the fans. They wanted to give the fans something special. This is all about the rich legacy of such and such franchise, and so here is a gift for all of the beloved fans. This one is for the fans, and in many cases the end result shows all those proclamations to be full of shit, or at least the end result is actually something polarizing that divides the fan base into two equally unpleasant sectors, saying terrible things to each other on the internet, treating their enjoyment of and devotion to a particular intellectual property owned by a large faceless corporation as a matter of great life and death import, and looking like absolutely pathetic jackasses in the process. But here's one that absolutely lives up to its stated goal to be a Valentine to the fans. Oh, don't get me wrong, in this day and age, some divisiveness is inevitable. For example, I can already predict that some YouTuber with a beard down to his knees is going to want to make a big deal out of DeWanda Wise's character being a Mary Sue that ruins the movie and therefore the franchise, and no, he is not racist or a misogynist. He just wants to give some constructive criticism to this franchise that he loves so much. But my point is, Jurassic World Dominion is basically the movie that has been advertised. The big blowout, presumably the finale to the Jurassic World storyline, and in a sense, a kind of full-circle button for the Jurassic Park franchise as a whole. It feels kind of like a Marvel movie. What I mean by that is, you have the original Jurassic Park trilogy, and now there's this new Jurassic World series, initiated by Colin Trevorrow some 7 years ago as of this taping. And here is a kind of crossover event that brings both storylines together. So it plays a bit like the Avengers of Jurassic Park. It also very much has a kind of Star Wars The Force Awakens vibe, where you have the new stars mingling with the old stars, and well, it's not so much that the torch is passed, because this is an end point, not an inception point, but it's an acknowledgement, an embrace of the new by the old. Okay, forget the Star Wars comparison. It's a bit like Star Trek Generations. There you go, where the two stars come together in the end to save the universe, except it is, of course, a much better movie than Star Trek Generations, with far more production value, of course, and a much more exciting and satisfying third act that doesn't feel like a big wet fart. It feels like a bunch of movies, honestly. It is inarguably the most action-packed, and one might even say overstuffed, of the Jurassic Park movies, with set piece after set piece coming at you almost from the very beginning, and a breathless pace that makes the 2.5 hours go by rather quickly. And when I say it feels like a bunch of movies, I kind of mean that literally, because that's how it plays. The first 100 minutes or so are like two separate action films running parallel to each other. On one hand, you've got a globe-trotting rescue mission adventure with Chris Pratt and Bryce Dallas Howard getting into trouble and car chases and fisticuffs and dodging bullets and bad guys and, yes, of course, dinosaurs. On the other hand, you have an industrial espionage techno-thriller with Sam Neill, Laura Dern, and Jeff Goldblum skulking around a secret lab, uncovering conspiracies and getting into all this cloak and dagger intrigue with devious Campbell Scott, and rooms full of deadly giant locusts, and I think there's also an underground cavern at one point. And then, for the final 45 minutes or so, the two stories come together, and we get Jurassic Park 6 proper, and it's what you've come to expect. Our heroes must escape the perilous island full of dinosaurs that can eat you or crush you or both. And I'm not kidding when I say this has more action than any Jurassic Park film. A lot of it is the kind of action-adventure stuff you tend to see in an Indiana Jones or James Bond movie. The chase built around a MacGuffin, taking place in an exotic location, Malta in this case, people running across rooftops, in this case being chased not only by mercenaries but dinosaurs. Hell, there's even a part in which a velociraptor, or whatever the hell it is, jumps from a Maltese rooftop and through a window like Jason Bourne. Later, you've got DeWanda Wise and Chris Pratt and Bryce Dallas Howard on a crashing plane, and I was reminded of Uncharted. Not the mediocre hit movie, the much better video game series that inspired that movie. And then there's the aforementioned secret lab with the giant locusts, and we are reminded of 1970s paranoia thrillers, or stuff like Phase 4, and all of this is obviously a nod in Michael Crichton's direction. I'm not really going to talk about the characters or the performances, or even praise any screenplay sophistication, because ultimately, as ever, these special effects are the stars here, and the screenplay as such is incidental. Do they try to make it topical with environmental and socio-political concerns? Sure, even as most of it is drowned out by the chaos that Jeff Goldblum, returning as Ian Malcolm, is always talking about. The movie may have its heart in a grounded place, but it is still a mechanical delivery device for theme park entertainment. A machine designed to make money. And that is not to say the cast doesn't commit to what they're doing, because they do, but you don't come here to see Sam Neill give a great performance. You come here to see him suit up as Alan Grant once again, with Laura Dern by his side, and to see Jeff Goldblum be all jittery and quirky and sarcastic. And that reminds me, as this film was gearing up for release, there was an attempt at a typical manufactured controversy involving the age gap between Laura Dern and Sam Neill, whose characters were romantically involved, however chastely, in the first film. And back then, Dern was 23, paired up with 43-year-old Sam Neill, and how inappropriate or whatever, and I sit here and I laugh. One, because it is astounding to me how, in lieu of any problematic tomfoolery going on behind the scenes for the latest blockbuster, let's just create a problem out of thin air. It's absurd to make a big deal out of the unacknowledged age gap between two fictional characters in a movie from 30 years ago. Not to mention that in all that pearl-clutching nonsense, no one ever bothers to bring up the almost identical age gap between Dern and Jeff Goldblum, who she was actually dating at the time. Anyway, back to the movie. To wrap this up, if we're being totally honest, this has been a series of diminishing returns in the sense that only the first Jurassic Park movie from 1993 can really be called quote-unquote great, right? It was Spielberg firing on all cylinders, delivering something novel and special that we had never seen before. And now, we've seen it. And since then, it's just been bigger and louder, and that's all. This movie, as efficient as it is, as entertaining as it is, as spectacular as it is, doesn't change that. But let's also be fair. Lack of novelty aside, this has been a pretty reliable series when it comes to delivering spectacle. And so basically, if you're in the market for some big-ticket entertainment, here you go. And also, if you happen to be a fan of this series, this here will reward that affection. I honestly can't see anyone coming to this with the expectation of what it promises and coming away feeling dissatisfied. It is definitely the movie you want to see if you're looking for this kind of movie. Hey, I hope you liked this video, and if you did, please give me a like and subscribe to my channel and share the video. There's going to be some cool stuff coming to the channel, so you're going to want to keep track of it, and I hope you like all that stuff too. See ya.